The organization started in 1984. We're a chartered chapter of the main American Parkinson Disease Association, and they have a number of subsidiary chapters throughout the country. We happen to be the largest. We have a very active chapter that's engaged both in improving quality of life for patients and families affected by this disease, as well as contributing to fundraise for research. Exercise is probably one of the main things folks can feel engaged in and empowered by. And we have classes every day of the week.
I take a couple classes. I take the Monday heavy aerobics class, and the Tai Chi class I've been doing for about 3 years. I think that's really beneficial.
My husband has been diagnosed for 16 years, and when he found out there was a Tai Chi class and Tai Chi was good for Parkinson's, we started coming. We come every week. It's wonderful for me as a person, and it's lovely for me to meet with other spouses of Parkinson's patients.
It's a lot of fun to get together with everyone, and it's like a large support group.
A lot of times a person who's had the disease for 12 or 20 years may feel like maybe that research cure isn't going to happen fast enough for them, so what can they do? And so we're hoping that people will feel engaged enough to know that they can have a say in how they're going to live well, whether it's learning about nutrition or the impact of exercise in slowing the progression, or just coming and being with others so that they realize they're not alone and they've got lots and lots of support. We're hoping that word just spreads and that we won't be kept in the dark and people will know how to access these wonderful services.
Burns Recovered started in 1983 as a support program for burn survivors. One of our biggest programs is our burn camp, and we are getting ready to celebrate our 20th year of burn camp this year. At burn camp, they gain self-confidence. What we're trying to help them understand is that the person that they are on the inside is much more important than the scars on the outside.
We often say one day of burn camp is like several weeks of therapy. There's no way to help put in perspective except through another burn survivor. A burn survivor helping another burn survivor is incredible. You can't replace that.
I actually was going to physical therapy with a burn survivor who was involved with Burns Recovered, and because he was a burn survivor, I brought up that my son was also a burn survivor, and we talked for a long time about the camp.
My mom told me about this camp where there was a bunch of kids that also had burns like I did, and I was always an outgoing person, so of course I wanted to go to that. It was great for me, especially my first year there, because whenever I was really little I was a very angry kid. I had a lot of problems that had to do with my birth family. I'm actually adopted, but my birth family is what caused my burns. But I had a lot of issues with that and I had a lot of anger towards that. And going to that camp and meeting and seeing all those people that understood really helped me with dealing with that. Now I'm older and I can see new campers come in and I can help them deal with what I had to deal with all those years ago.
I truly believe that because of the camp and the organization, it has made such a difference in my son, and seeing this as something positive instead of something that he's a victim for.
It was like the best therapy for me. So, I mean, who knows where I'd be without them.
LYDIA'S was founded in 1997. I was working in the field of pediatrics and spinal cord neural rehab, and I really felt that what I was doing was trying to fix what was broke. So I knew that starting a sports and fitness program would help these athletes to search for their own goals. A lot of these children that are born with disabilities, their families are told they're not going to do this and they can't do that and they won't do this. And then the kids feel like they're kind of stuck, and they're going to therapists all the time, they're getting their wheelchairs fixed, they're getting their braces fixed, and it's all so therapeutic. And my favorite part of my job is to see these kids really thrive and to try to show everybody it's not about my therapy, I've got great abilities, and for their families to realize it. Today we're practicing in track and field. The athletes that are here today are going on to the national championships. We have some of them that are going to the United States Paralympic trials for Rio this summer.
I didn't think they had sports like this for kids with disabilities and wheelchairs, and to know that they have them is awesome. It does me pretty well just to know that we can be like everybody else and there's stuff out here that we can do.
It's definitely made me a different person. I became more talkative and just like more outgoing. Just to be able to go out there and show people what we're capable of and just being able to be competitive against other people, it's awesome.
We really are the only organization in the Midwest that offers these opportunities for kids with physical disabilities. So we need to be here.
Emmaus Homes is perhaps the oldest provider of residential services for people with developmental disabilities in the state of Missouri. We've been providing services for more than 120 years, and our intent is to provide that service for generations to come. What we do is with each individual that we serve, we work with them to determine what a complete life would look like for them. We know that our clients are better able to achieve their goals by living in smaller settings that are more individualized, and we're able to provide better care for them in those scenarios.
Gene was really very sheltered by his mother, and he was always taken care of well. But Emmaus Homes, I thought they were amazing when they came and told us what they offered and what they could do for us. I just stopped right there and said, that's going to be it, we're going to do it. Having people come into the home to live with them, his roommates, had been a big advantage. He can interact with them, and he can go out, and he can do all kinds of new things. He just gets to meet so many more people, and he's just enjoying himself.
We are always at the behest of the legislature for rate increases, and sadly those don't come to cover our costs. We are required to raise over about $2 million to meet the needs of our total service array. And services to people with disabilities are really at a critical juncture at the moment. As baby boomers age, we know that there will be more people who require care, and there'll be fewer people to provide that service. And so it's important that we have the money to reinvest in staff and in their wages so that we can hire a high quality workforce to continue to provide the service for generations to come.
We're one of 34 chapters nationwide, founded in 1979, and we serve veterans with a spinal cord injury or disease like MS or ALS. You can be injured while in service, like me, or after. What happened to me is you wake up the next day in an ER or an ICU paralyzed, and your life is crushed. We want to bring them back so they can live normal lives and tell them basically there's life after the injury. We get no federal funding whatsoever, but of every dollar we spend, a little over 90 cents goes to members of the programs. We fund people to go to sporting events like the National Veterans Wheelchair Games. We do a $10,000 grant to any member to help them make their home accessible. We also started the last 4 years giving transportation grants to members to help them buy an accessible vehicle, to make it adaptable. It costs about $20,000. Most of our members don't have that kind of money.
The depth of our program, I think, is what's really critical. It's here to help vets live life to its fullest. And you can see veterans doing that. Working full-time, raising families, going to school, everything that the average person would do, but just in a limited way, perhaps at times, or in a modified way. And that's the key. We're no less than we were before, and maybe more because we've been challenged. To be able to know that and to see others doing it and then prove it to ourselves, that's probably the most important thing.
Gateway to Hope was an idea that we came up with about 10 years ago. We were seeing women recently diagnosed with breast cancer who are either uninsured or underinsured and really had no place to turn, and we decided to create an organization that could provide comprehensive medical and surgical care for them at no cost to the patient. Any patient in Missouri, anywhere, who has breast cancer and qualifies for our program, if they're uninsured, they contact us and we buy them an insurance policy through the insurance exchange, and we continue to pay for coverage as long as they need it.
I needed to have an ultrasound or some kind of a test. And the lady calls me back and she says, well, this says that this insurance has been terminated. Now I've had a double mastectomy and now they're trying to figure out what treatment they're going to do. So I go home and I'm telling my one girlfriend, I'm like, hey, I don't have any insurance. She said, there's a program called Gateway to Hope.
The cost of breast cancer care can easily run $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 for one patient. So for somebody who is uninsured, even if they get deeply discounted care, there's no way that they can afford to pay for it. We can take $1 that's donated to our program and convert that into anywhere from $50 to $500 worth of health care. And that is just such a unique formula, and it's really something that should be replicated elsewhere in the country. One of the challenges for us is getting the word out to women all over the state of Missouri and let them know that help is available. So certainly anything that individuals or corporations or institutions can do to reach out in the community and spread the word for us would be invaluable.
Lydia's House has come together to provide transitional housing for abused women and their children. We're that actual bridge and that critical step between your stay at emergency shelter and that point of your goal to get to safe, independent living. So for 2 years, we provide safe and confidentially located furnished apartments, and we provide all those necessary resources in order to get to safe, independent living.
You have 2 years to kind of get your life together without having the stress of, I have to go to work, I have to do this. You have a little bit of time to figure it out. You know, when you go to a shelter, you're usually in a room with 5, 10 other families. Here you get your own apartment, so you can actually learn to live together as a family without the abuse, without the harassment, and you have that privacy to, you know, just do what you need to do with your family.
So when women enter Lydia's House, we have many resources available as far as furthering their education, building their resume, providing financial resources to become financially stable.
I work for Lydia's Ladle, which is a company Lydia's House started to employ victims of domestic violence, and I work in the kitchen as a kitchen manager.
Lydia's Ladle started back in 2014. We've gone together with 5 of the 5-star chefs in St. Louis, along with the #1 pastry chef in St. Louis, and they developed this recipe for chicken pot pie. We provide frozen, fresh chicken pot pies to Deerberg's, to Straub's, to Annie Gunn's Smokehouse Market, and to City Greens Market. We've had 15 women go through this Lydia's Ladle program, and this helps them develop their resume and their job skills in order to move forward. I believe that Lydia's House becomes that voice of these women in order for them to reclaim their own voice and to live independently once again.
It is a very great resource, and I think a lot of women could not have made it as far as they have without programs like these.
Operation Food Search got started in 1981 when a group of businessmen were aware that produce was being thrown away at Produce Row. They asked if they could have it, and they picked it up in the back of a pickup truck and delivered it to low-income neighborhoods. The organization distributed several $100,000 worth of food the first year, and this past year we've distributed almost $34 million worth of food. Food is collected from all segments of the food industry and then distributed to a network of community agencies, including emergency food pantries, soup kitchens, and shelters. Those agencies today are helping to feed 200,000 people each month.
My organization was introduced to Operation Food Search about 8 years ago. We were just a church who had volunteers who bought food for the needy. Operation Food Search allows me to know who's in need. That allows me to reach a vast community of people.
The organization is deeply devoted to nutrition education. We have a staff of 6 dietitians, nutritionists, and even a chef who teach the basics of healthy eating, cooking skills, and food budgeting. Operation Food Search also has a number of child-focused hunger relief programs. Operation Backpack, where we provide a weekly sack of groceries to children, has grown from 100 children the first year 10 years ago to 8,500 children this year. Whoever said find something you love to do and you'll never work a day of your life is really true for me. It's just great knowing that you're helping people who would otherwise not have good, nutritious food. Unfortunately, the need continues to grow, and so our ability to address the problem of hunger needs to grow with that.
VOYCE was started over 35 years ago. We recruited an army of volunteers that go into long-term care communities on a weekly basis, getting to know the residents, developing a rapport, and finding out what are their issues. And then our volunteers go on to advocate for those residents to make sure they get the very best quality of care while they're living in a long-term care setting. Many of our residents, as a result of our wonderful volunteers, feel that they're more empowered to speak up for themselves. They also feel more social engagement and less isolated because they feel like VOYCE gives them a volunteer that's there to really listen and to really work on their behalf to make their life better.
I saw it as an ad in our church bulletin. It said, "Can you give 4 hours a week?" And I thought it would be a way to pay back. And 21 years later, I'm still here. Some days I feel that I am the only non-staff person they'll talk to, maybe even that week, you know. I just feel like a friend.
We're very lucky having her to come here.
It means a whole lot to me, more than people think it does.
VOYCE's long-term goal is to have a volunteer in every one of the 350 long-term care communities in our service area. Right now, we only have volunteers at about 1/3 of these communities.
I think it'd be great if there were more people knew about it and were involved in it.
Our main challenge is making the greater community aware of what we have available to help them. We're there for you, we're there to give advice and coaching and ultimately resolve the issues that you may have.